Welcome to the upper deck for Pinstripe Chronicles. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. We're really happy to have you.
Cue the music.
Happy Mother's Day to all who celebrate, which is everyone.
Happy Mother's Day. If you're not celebrating, you should be celebrating the ones who are mothers and doing the thing all day, every day, all life long.
Absolutely. Do the thing, as you say.
Yes.
And that's what we're here to do today. We have the Bobblehead Effect. It's been offense has either been on or off.
Offense has been either on and off, and of late, pitching has been on and off, both starting and in the pen. But something really magical happened Friday night.
Yeah.
It was as if the Mandalorian force, or, you're going to see right away that I'm not fluent Star Wars.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about the whole mystique around the Mandalorian and the quote of "This is the way" really applies now, because last time we were all together. Hey, Lori, happy Mother's Day. So the last show when we were here, we were heading into the last game of the set in Tampa, and here we are today going into the last game of the set here in the Bronx. Nobody wants to hear us revisit Thursday night, the first game in the Bronx, which we all entered. Yes, I'm speaking for all of us, Yankees Twitter. We all entered saying, "Oh, they're in our house now. It's time to show them what's up." And we didn't even get schooled. We got, school, detention, suspension, expelled. And Friday night, it was like, "Hey, Joe."
Hey, Joe.
Friday night, it was like, okay, they gave away the Mandalorian bobblehead, and some kind of spell was cast.
Absolutely. And I mean, Rizzo, though, to just focus in on him for a little bit, he's having one of his best offensive campaigns ever. And I mean, even from his Cub years, I mean, he's just going great guns this season.
100%. And so it was his night. It was his bobblehead, and he really was the most clutch that night with that home run he hit.
And I mean, Rizzo's played 38 of 40 games. He's hit .301. He's got 8 home runs and 20 RBIs. And he's also graded out in the 92nd percentile in outs above average at first base. Couldn't ask for more.
He is the total complete package.
He's the MVP of the first quarter of the season.
Right. Yeah. And so hopefully he'll stay in the running for that. And right now there's strong indication that he will. I think he's physically strong, and I think that he's mentally and emotionally strong. And I think that, and 100%, Lori. Yeah. It's funny. Chris and I were talking about this before we jumped on. I think what the truth is, you're either born to be a Yankee or you're not. And there's no real in between. If there's a real in between, it's a serendipity. But you look at how Gallo's doing in Minneapolis now. You see how Chapman's doing, throwing 104 again. All these things now that they're out of here. And so Chapman was great here for a while, but it broke him down after a while. it seems. So, yeah, Rizzo was straight up born to be a Yankee, and really the way that the energy. One of the things about This Is the Way is the way that this team feeds off each other, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
and so Rizzo, I think Rizzo is better and different because as his relationship with Judge was forged and strengthened, that's having an effect. They're bouncing off of each other. And we have other examples of that we could get to in terms of how these guys are helping each other out dynamically.
Let's not forget that Anthony Rizzo is a champion. He was a champion before he came to the Yankees. He was a leader with the Cubs. He was probably one of the most, key to their success in their World Series winning year. So glad he's a Yankee, and he does belong because he's a champion. Bring it on. Just like Stanton. I mean, Stanton is a champion. He's in the organization because he brings that leadership and he brings that excellence with him.
Chris, I think I'm going to save this podcast forever because of what you just said.
Why?
Because we've gone back and forth about Stanton.
Oh my God, I know. And look, I'm wearing my Stanton t-shirt today.
Oh my God.
I'm missing Stanton. I think it's time for him to come back. Where the hell is he?
You have witnesses, Chris, to everything you said. And I love it. I love it. And I agree. Obviously, he's my Yankee husband. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you again. And Jonathan saying that Stanton is hurt too much, and that's the problem. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We don't see him more than we see him, and that's why we miss him. Even Chris misses him because when he's the clutch guy. Yeah, you're not going to rely on him for the small ball, but he's the one that comes through, and connects, and and so he's sorely needed because we've either been rags or riches when it comes to the offense.
Oh my gosh, the offense is giving me a headache.
We're either scoring 9 runs like we did yesterday, or we're scoring like under 5. And Chris, I think you had a number about that, didn't you?
I do have something about that.
Yeah.
The Yankee offense was stalled. According to Katie Sharp, the Yankee offense scored 4 or fewer in the last 15 of 17 games. That was before yesterday, that stat. But the team ranks 24th in batting average at .232. And that doesn't surprise me, actually, because there's a lot of not happening. They are 23rd in on-base percentage at .304, 15th in slugging, and 18th in OPS. This team, the offense is like a roller coaster.
Yeah, and unless you're on a straight trajectory this way and consistent with it, it's not boding well. Not to mention what it's doing to our stomachs and our mental health.
Exactly.
Can't they think about us for a change? But yeah, those are numbers. Lori used the word embarrassing before, and in a different context. But this is embarrassing as a Yankee fan. This is not the way. So we need that consistency. And is it a function of the injuries and the offs and ons of the IL? I know one thing: it's not about missing Donaldson.
Can I ask a question too? Is the Yankee? I mean, this is not the first year the Yankee offense has struggled like this and stalled and had these periods where they go without scoring runs. I mean, is there something to be said for consistency when you talk about that? I mean, we get a different lineup every day. I mean, do we ever get a consistent couple days with people, except for, say, Judge in the 2 spot? I mean, what do you think, chat room, what do you think causes the offense to be so inconsistent?
I think that's a really good question. I would like to hear from our friends in the chat on that. I have mixed feelings because although you're right, the top of the order has been really the consistent thing, and it's more, five down that's been shuffled around, and some of that is just straight up, what the jigsaw puzzle has been in the field.
Right.
But I think also there are times, and by the way, my cat is co-hosting apparently. If you hear
Welcome.
if you hear Ringo in the background, he has something to say. I'll translate if necessary. Anyway, we understand the logic now. We don't like it of making the pieces fit in the infield and outfield, which have been the big focuses. But same kind of goes with the lineup too. There's going to be switches in order based on who you're facing and the DH. What's interesting about the DH, to your point, Chris, I think the DH batted ninth yesterday, eighth or ninth, and so that gave me pause. And Joe has a good point. He's answering here. And hey, Sunil, good to see you. Joe says players like consistency, not bounced around every day in the lineup.
Right. I think that's true. I've heard that too.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, I was the one that at the top of the show was talking about how they're feeding off each other. And you kind of lose that. If Rizzo and Judge were too far apart, you'd lose that. And so clearly that's not, factoring in here. And that could be part of the reason for the numbers.
I wonder about that because as you say, I mean, is it the case, and I'm asking, I don't know, is it the case that that in the course of a season, if the lineup were more consistent, that the players would be able to read each other more effectively? I don't know, and interact in there. It's something that I know drives me crazy every day is to see what's going on with the lineup every day.
Right. And it's a two-sided coin for me because injuries are going to keep happening, which is going to have impact on it.
Right.
Players, even the top of the order guys now, what if they enter a drought? Marriage. I'm not going to squirrel, I promise. That was a Princess Bride thing. Never mind. So what happens then if God forbid Judge or Rizzo or Volpe enter a serious drought, then that's going to change, so all those things are always going to have to factor in. And right. I see, and Sunil, the last two games have been consistent in the lineup. But we can't ever say TikTok, the game is locked on that.
Right.
We just never know who's going to fall out. And look, Hicks, everyone was a Hicks fan the other night. I was like, I can't believe I'm like tweeting out about Hicks in a great way. And what happens? 2 innings later? Running the bases? Well, now he's out, because he's not used to running bases fast.
Yeah.
And so consistency, to Joe's point, we don't have that luxury. And is this season different from, others in our memory? And mine goes back a long way, where that's been an issue. It's just, even just looking at the numbers, boy, does it smell of the lack of consistency all across the board.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a little bit, we have to hang on to whatever good news we have. So let me just show you that we're no longer in last place.
All right.
Okay. This might have been before yesterday's game. Actually, no, it isn't, because we see that Tampa has a losing streak of 2 and Yankees have a winning streak of 2. So this was after last night's game. So at least we're not in the basement. And arguably Toronto, who, by the way, we're seeing next, so we have the same wins. It's the loss column that has us. So
Right.
we turn Toronto around, we turn things around in Toronto, we could have third place. So I just thought I'd share, however, like scraping the bottom of the barrel, that we're no longer.
I get it that the AL East is the division, one of the toughest divisions, and we're not actually performing as badly as some Yankee fans on Twitter would have you imagine. It's not as bad as that. We're still above 500, right?
Are we still above 500? We're over 500. We're
over 500.
We're at 561.
We're playoff bound. Come on.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we're only 240 points below Tampa right now in percentage.
Yeah.
Small potatoes. So yeah.
Good morning, Elliot.
Hey, how you doing, Spencer? Yeah, Jonathan said he doesn't remember the last time he saw Hicks hustle. Exactly. That's why he's on the I don't know if he's officially on the IL yet, or if they're still keeping an eye on him or whatever. I don't know. We'll see if he's in the lineup today.
Well, speaking of controversial injuries, what did everybody think about the Rodon news this week that came from Jomboy? Jomboy Media reported that a source had told them that Rodon would not possibly be back this season, or that we might not see him pitch. And then Rodon's wife got in on it.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Right. No, the wife denied, right?
The wife denied that was true. And Severino came out and made some comments about the Yankee system, that he thought he would progress quicker than he had. I think, and we've heard Severino say that before when he was injured.
Yeah, and we heard that Sevy, I know, played a game down in Scranton, and he was not happy about that. He didn't think it was necessary.
Right.
So so it's good to have all that self-confidence, but
and John Hyman reported this week about the possibility of the Yankees moving Severino.
Oh, okay. Like moving.
Like moving. I mean, do you think that's a possibility? A year ago, I would not have thought that would happen. But after what happened to Monty, the Yankees have no loyalty to these guys they pamper and bring up, and
that's a perfect example. I'm still mourning and mad about that, by the way.
Yes.
The only reason that I don't think it's going to happen, at least now, is that they don't have the luxury of getting rid of him. If he's breathing and getting anywhere near the plate with a ball, they're not going to get rid of him. What else do we have for a starting rotation? And that brings us to talking about the two reliables, Chris.
Right.
What's going on with Nestor, everybody? I know it's a small sample size, but his last two outings are a concern. Is anyone else? Arson Heyman.
Sunil, that's hysterical.
Call 1-800 Tickle-Luck Heyman. Like, yeah. Fast fingers Heyman, but better slow his roll. Right. And great point, FJ. He hides his injuries. He can't be trusted to say he's okay. Right. Yeah. And that's, both, good and bad of him. I mean, the same thing with DJ last year, right? He was tanking so bad and not admitting that he was really hurt and in pain until it became abundantly clear. So, yeah, and it says something about, their drive, their motivation, their dedication. But when it's hurting the team, fess up and do what you got to do. And I say that as I'm like, why is Stanton out again and for so long, and we don't know why and what's going on, and he looks fine in the dugout. Anyway, so but Nestor, the past two games, last night being the most recent. um, I keep saying last night. I'm not in a different time zone, but it felt very dark until it wasn't dark anymore. Until it became
FJ, I was just going to ask that question. Has the league caught up with Nestor? Does he need some new tricks in his bag? Apparently he does.
Yeah, and is he missing something on reading the batters he's facing too? And is there a communication issue going on between him and Trevino, and are they in sync with each other with what gets thrown when? But either way, yeah, and he is overusing his cutter, and his cutter, he's overusing it, and it's not exactly, in my view, his best pitch out of the bag either. There's a location issue that goes with that. I really don't think, and especially against the righties. So, to me, last year I was saying he's my ace. I know Cole is the ace, but he's my ace. And now it's only 2 games, so I'm going to stay optimistic. But it's worth noting. I have a little post-it on Cortez.
Yeah.
And then there's Cole, Chris.
And then
what do you guys all think about Cole in the chat? Chris, what have you? Are you any concerned about Cole at all?
I'm not concerned about Cole, but I mean, if he was not going to go on without giving up home runs. We all knew this. And last year he was, given to giving up the home run. So this year we were so overjoyed that we went into the season 4 or 5 games without him giving anything up. But now he's come back down to earth, and I think it was just to be expected. I think Cole is fine. That he does not concern me.
Okay. All right. Good. Because I have enough concerns in my life. And I am finally firm in my ace camp about him.
Right.
But, I did see that element of getting in his head when things were going awry. And he hasn't lasted the past outing or two deep into the game the way that we were used to, since the start of the season.
Right.
And I also have a hard time remembering that it's only May 14th.
It's only May 14th.
It's only May 14th, but it might as well. We have to treat every game like it's August 30th.
Right.
At the earliest. So, and Jonathan saying Cole has too long a leash from Boone.
That's probably true. Herman has too short a leash. Cole too long.
That's a great point. Both ends of that are a great point. But I think the reason that Cole may have that leash from Booney is that Cole knows the game and the pitching and how it relates to the hitting. He doesn't just have a pitcher's view of what's going on at the field. He has that two-side, we talked about it last week, the long chat between him and Higgy. We've seen him talking to Boone in the dugout. I think that he relies on him as what's your take on what's going on here? Do I pull him? Do I not? And so he's getting like sort of the judge status. I think there's 2 unannounced captains on the team, and that's Rizzo and Cole. So yeah, that's very likely. And yeah, Herman is not given enough rope. So
yeah.
So
I think that Cole needs to be. He obviously is the leader of this in some respects, just as much a leader as Judge is, and he's got to be, because this pitching staff is reliant on him, on his performances right now to be more than above average, because everyone else is just treading water.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of treading water, sometimes floating, sometimes not. We have Schmidt on the hill today.
Yep.
And so best case scenario, we're going to split the series. I mean, worst case scenario, we're splitting the
Yeah.
series. Best case, all right, let's wrap soon because I have my I want to go with two. I know what I'm saying, thinking in my head. It just comes out the other way. Um, but we really want the 3 out of 4. We want
Yeah.
the bragging rights that we took this series in our house.
Right.
So, and for Schmidt to be the one on the hill, I have to say, 3 outings ago, I'd be far more concerned than I am now, which is still concerned, but want to know what you all think. To me, he's settling in better. The past 2 outings have me feeling a bit more comfortable with him staying here instead of going back to the pen like we were ready to catapult him back to 2 weeks ago. What do you think, Chris?
I think Schmidt is a number 5 starter, and to expect anything of him except excellent effort and hope that the defense behind him is outstanding, and that the offense keeps it going. We scored 9 runs yesterday. Let's do it again. So get some support to these pitchers.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see what the lineup shows. And hopefully, per Neil's observation earlier, hopefully it won't change from the past 2 games.
Right.
And hopefully that formula will be as successful. I think the other key here is, and let's presume we're going to have that offense buzzing again. What really was remarkable to me is that we're seeing the perfect combination of small ball and long ball in such a way that that is really leading to, like last night, the 9 runs. And Curry said at the post game show, for Volpe to be as young as he is, as new as he is, that he's really looking like the one with the best baseball IQ on the team.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get, hey, he got his first grand slam. So his first 2 home runs, the second one is a grand slam, it's not like we're not going to be able to rely on him for the long ball, but you don't see anyone else on the team doing what he's doing on the bags and baking the cake to get to home plate like he did yesterday.
That's right.
And that's baseball IQ right there. And cojones, to be honest with you. Like, you're brand new. You're with the guys you idolized for your life, and you're 21. Yeah. And you don't see any of the vets doing anything like that, piecing things like that together. And yesterday wasn't the only example. But he's a threat, out there on the bags. And, and the Rays have been very mindful of him. And that's probably part of the reason why. So I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you did. And also we want to mention the Rizzo bunt, right?
Oh, yeah. So, and that I believe was in the same half inning as Volpe. So talking about feeding off each other, it seemed to even really surprise Judge in the post game. He was asked about. He's like, yeah, like what about that kind of thing? Like, because we don't view Rizzo as that guy to lay down a bunt. Right. I remember saying, what just happened? What? And I don't think of him as so speedy either.
No.
And it worked. And so it's like, what is even happening with this team? I don't know. Let's keep it going.
Let's keep the fun going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Lynn, have you got the trivia for us this week?
I sure do. Not only do I have the trivia for the week, but we have 2.
All All right.
And both from gentlemen in the chat.
Yay!
Yay. So I already did the share screen successfully once. I want to go on record as saying that. Since last week didn't go so well. So here we go. All right. So from our friend Joe at 7 Trivia on Twitter. Short, sweet, simple question, not so simple to answer. Which Hall of Fame Yankee pitcher wore number 11? And we know who's wearing number 11 now and who was wearing it before, but they were not pitchers, are not pitchers. And not in the Hall of Fame either. Okay. Yeah. And then Spencer, our trivia whiz master as well. I have his handle up there for everybody to see. So after 10 seasons of futility in 2008, all normalcy disappeared as the Tampa Bay Devil Rays finished in first place for the first time in their history, and the Yankees missed the playoffs in their last season at the original Yankee Stadium. The Rays reached the World Series to face off the Phillies. The Rays' primary catcher was the only former Yankee on that team. A player on the 2004 humiliated by the Sox in the ALCS comeback, but then got to rejoice as the Devil Rays defeated the Sox in their comeback attempt in the 08 ALCS.
I think I have a guess.
Do you?
Okay, once I have a guess.
Because, Spencer always gives a lot of context, but the question is, who was
I never know. I never have a catcher
on the Devil Rays that year? So the context matters here if you're going to deduce and Sherlock Holmes yourself to the answer, because you can't Google, you can't phone a friend. So who was the ex-New York Yankee catcher on the Devil Rays in that year?
Shoot us a text. Shoot us an answer in the comments. We'd love to hear from you on Twitter as well. Check us out there. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We really appreciate you coming in and joining us on Sundays. It's a great way to prepare for the last game of the week. Actually, I should say the first game of the new week, the last game of the series.
Last big critical game of the series.
Right.
We want that momentum because guess where we're going next? Toronto. Yeah, and I am not wanting Vladdy to say he's anybody's daddy.
No.
And so, and I just put up, if you're not following at Hit the Upper Deck on Twitter, that is the account for this show. So please follow that, as well as Chris and I on our regular accounts. Subscribe, like Chris said, to Pinstripe Chronicles, our family that we're a part of. And as always, you'll always have that reserve seat with us right here on the Upper Deck. So join us again next week. Happy Mother's Day once again. And let's do the thing, Yankees!
Go Yankees!